Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every woman's life where she must make a decision to either live by her value or give it away for free. See, high-value women don't play games with their worth. They don't beg, they don't chase, and they don't settle. They know who they are. They know what they deserve. And that knowledge changes everything. Tonight, I want to share with you 3 things high-value women never do in relationships. High-value women never chase love. They attract it by knowing their worth. This truth is both powerful and freeing, yet many overlook it in the rush of wanting to be loved. You see, when a woman knows who she is and what she brings to the table, she doesn't run after anyone to validate her. She doesn't bend over backwards to convince a man of her value. She doesn't make desperate moves, hoping he'll notice her. Instead, she stands firm in her identity, like a lighthouse on the shore, steady, unshaken, and shining bright. The ships that need her light will find her, not the other way around. Chasing love often comes from a place of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being chosen. Fear of not being good enough. But high-value women refuse to be driven by fear. They are guided by confidence, self-awareness, and faith that what is meant for them will not miss them. They don't have time to chase someone who's running away. They don't waste energy proving their worth to someone who doesn't see it. Instead, they pour that energy into their growth, their goals, and their happiness. And in doing so, they naturally attract love that matches their frequency. Think about a magnet. It doesn't run around trying to stick itself to metal. It simply is what it is. And because of its natural power, the right things come to it. That's exactly how a high-value woman operates. She understands that her worth isn't based on someone's approval. Her value is inherent. It's in her strength, her kindness, her wisdom, and her ability to love herself first. She knows that when she loves herself fully, she teaches others how to love her too. Let me give you an example. Imagine 2 women. One is constantly texting, calling, and bending her schedule around a man who barely invests in her. She's chasing, hoping he'll finally give her what she deserves. The other woman, she's focused on her purpose. She respects herself enough to give only to those who give back. She doesn't play games, she doesn't beg, and she doesn't settle. Which woman do you think that man, and men in general, will respect more? Always the one who values herself first. Attracting love isn't about looks, status, or trying to be perfect. It's about energy. When you know your worth, you carry yourself differently. You walk with confidence. You set boundaries. You radiate peace and joy. And people feel that. The right man, the one who is aligned with your values, will be drawn to it naturally. He won't need to be chased because he'll see your light and move toward it. You don't have to run after love. You don't have to convince anyone to stay. The love that is real, the love that is right, will recognize your worth without you begging for it. Stand tall, know your value, and let love come to you. High-value women never lose themselves in a relationship. They understand that love is beautiful, but it should never come at the cost of their own identity. Too often, people fall so deeply in love that they forget who they were before the relationship began. They stop chasing their dreams, silence their own voice, and shrink their ambitions just to fit into someone else's world. But a woman who knows her worth refuses to disappear in the name of love. She loves, but she also protects her individuality. She gives, but she never abandons her own purpose. Think about it. How many women have put their lives on pause for someone else? They stop pursuing their career goals. They drift away from friends. They ignore their passions because they're trying to become what their partner wants. At first, it may feel like sacrifice, but over time, it becomes a loss of identity. And when a person loses who they are, they end up feeling empty, even while being in a relationship. High-value women understand this. They know that if they stop being themselves, the relationship is no longer a partnership. It's a prison. A true relationship is never about erasing yourself. It's about standing side by side as equals. A high-value woman brings her full self to the table. Her strengths, her talents, her dreams. And she expects her partner to respect that. She doesn't dim her light to make someone else comfortable. She doesn't silence her voice to avoid conflict. She doesn't shrink her greatness to protect someone's ego. Instead, she shines, she speaks, and she grows because she knows that the right partner will celebrate her, not cage her. Picture a flame. If you cover it with a glass, the fire suffocates and dies. But if you give it air and space, it burns brighter and stronger. That's how individuality works in love. High-value women know their fire should never be suffocated. They guard their passions fiercely. They make time for their own interests, their friendships, and their personal growth. They understand that love is not about merging into one identity, but about walking together as two complete individuals. Let's take a simple example. A woman loves to paint, but once she gets into a relationship, she stops because her partner doesn't care about it. Years later, she feels a quiet sadness, a longing for the part of herself she gave up. Contrast that with the high-value woman. She continues to paint, even if her partner doesn't share the interest. Why? Because she knows her passions are part of her soul. And by honoring them, she honors herself. When you stay true to who you are, you bring more to the relationship, not less. You bring joy, creativity, and fulfillment that overflow into your connection. High-value women know that a man may love her beauty, her laughter, or her presence. But the thing that makes her irreplaceable is her authenticity. So never lose yourself for anyone, because the right love will never require you to erase who you are. It will honor your individuality and grow alongside it. A high-value woman knows that keeping her identity intact is not selfish. It's necessary. High-value women never tolerate disrespect. They understand that love without respect is not love at all. It's control. It's manipulation. It's emptiness dressed up as affection. A woman who knows her worth refuses to accept words or actions that tear her down. She sets her standards high, not because she's arrogant, but because she understands the value of her peace, her dignity, and her self-respect. She knows that the way a man treats her is not just about him. It's a reflection of what she allows. That's why she draws the line and holds it with confidence. Disrespect can come in many forms. It can be obvious, like insults, cheating, or lying. But it can also be subtle, like ignoring your feelings, dismissing your opinions, or constantly putting other priorities before you. High-value women pay attention to these signs. They don't brush them aside, hoping things will change on their own. They don't excuse repeated bad behavior with, "That's just how he is." They see disrespect for what it is, a red flag that cannot be ignored. Why? Because once you start tolerating disrespect, it grows. What begins as small compromises, letting someone raise their voice, letting them cancel plans over and over, letting them ignore your needs, soon becomes a cycle. And once that cycle starts, it's hard to break. High-value women know that the longer you allow disrespect, the more it becomes the standard in the relationship. So they stop it before it begins. Imagine a house with broken windows. If one is cracked and left unfixed, eventually others will follow. Soon, the whole house looks neglected. The same is true in love. If you allow one form of disrespect, more will follow, and your relationship will weaken over time. High-value women keep their house in order. They repair boundaries the moment they're crossed. They make it clear. This is how I deserve to be treated, and I will accept nothing less. Here's the truth. Respect is not optional, and it's not something you should beg for. It's the foundation of love. Without it, you're not building a relationship, you're surviving one. And survival is not the same as love. A woman of value knows this. She doesn't scream or fight to be respected. She simply walks away from anyone who can't give her what she deserves. Think about how powerful that is. A high-value woman doesn't argue about her worth. She demonstrates it. She doesn't chase apologies. She recognizes patterns. She doesn't stay where her soul feels small. She chooses environments where she can grow. And because of this strength, she attracts partners who naturally respect her without being forced. If a man truly loves you, respect will come with that love. If it doesn't, then it's not love, and it never will be. High-value women never confuse attachment with affection or attention with respect. They know that being alone is far better than being with someone who chips away at their dignity. So never tolerate disrespect. Protect your peace. Guard your boundaries. And remember, the way you allow others to treat you teaches them how valuable you believe you are. High-value women never forget this truth. High-value women never beg for attention or validation. They know that genuine love and respect are proven through consistent action, not through constant pleading. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't chase after someone's acknowledgement, nor does she need reassurance at every turn to feel valuable. She carries herself with quiet confidence, understanding that the right person will see her, appreciate her, and show up for her without being begged to do so. Begging for attention often comes from insecurity, from a place of needing someone else to confirm what you don't yet believe about yourself. It sounds like, "Why didn't you call me back?" Or, "Do you even care about me?" High-value women don't live in that space. They don't reduce themselves to questioning their own value just because someone else refuses to give them what they deserve. They recognize that when attention is forced, it's not real. If you have to beg for consistency, you're not in a partnership, you're in a performance. Instead of chasing validation, high-value women validate themselves. They know who they are when they look in the mirror. They affirm their beauty, their intelligence, and their worth long before anyone else does. And because they do this, they set a standard. If someone chooses to be in their life, that person must show up fully, willingly, and consistently. No begging, no chasing, no settling. Think about a garden. Flowers don't beg bees to come to them. They simply bloom, and in blooming, they attract what naturally belongs to them. A high-value woman is the same. She focuses on her growth, her happiness, her passions, and her peace. She shines so brightly in her authenticity that she attracts people who want to give, not those who only take. Let me give you a real example. Imagine one woman constantly posting online, seeking likes, attention, and compliments to feel seen. Another woman doesn't need to broadcast her worth. She knows it, lives it, and walks in it daily. People gravitate toward her because confidence is magnetic. She doesn't demand validation, she embodies it. And in relationships, the same principle applies. High-value women don't beg to be noticed. They are noticed because of how they carry themselves. It's also important to understand that attention without effort means nothing. Someone can shower you with words, but if their actions don't back it up, it's empty. High-value women don't fall for empty promises or sweet talk. They look for consistency. They look for effort. They look for actions that align with words. And if those things are missing, they don't try harder to earn them. They walk away. The truth is, when you beg for attention, you give your power away. But when you stand firm in your worth, you create space for the right love to flow into your life. High-value women know they don't need to scream for love. They simply live in such a way that love finds them naturally. And that is why they never beg for attention or validation. They already know they are enough. High-value women never compete with other women because they understand one powerful truth. There is no competition when you know who you are. They don't waste energy comparing themselves, measuring their beauty against someone else's, or fighting for attention in a relationship. They recognize that their uniqueness cannot be duplicated. What they carry, whether it's their heart, their mind, their spirit, or their presence, belongs solely to them, and that makes them incomparable. Competing with other women often comes from a place of insecurity. It's the belief that love is limited, that attention is scarce, and that if another woman enters the picture, you suddenly become less valuable. But high-value women reject that scarcity mindset. They live in abundance, knowing that the right man, the right opportunities, and the right relationships are never threatened by someone else. If something can be taken from you that easily, it was never truly yours in the first place. When a high-value woman sees another woman shining, she doesn't feel threatened. She feels inspired. She celebrates it because she knows another woman's beauty, success, or happiness doesn't take away from her own. She doesn't lower herself to jealousy, rivalry, or pettiness. She stays focused on her own lane, her own growth, and her own journey. She knows that comparing herself to others is a distraction that steals her peace. Think about this: two flowers can bloom side by side, and one does not take away from the other. The rose doesn't compete with the sunflower, and the sunflower doesn't compete with the tulip. Each one is beautiful in its own way, each one valuable in its own season. A high-value woman lives with that mindset. She knows her worth is not determined by who else is standing in the room. It's determined by her authenticity and self-respect. This principle also applies in relationships. If a man tries to make her feel like she has to compete for his love, a high-value woman will not play that game. She refuses to prove that she's better than the other woman. Instead, she steps back and says, "If you can't see my value without comparison, you're not the man for me." She will never fight for a spot in someone's life because she knows she deserves to be chosen willingly, not reluctantly. High-value women also know that real competition is not against others. It's against who they were yesterday. They strive to grow, improve, and evolve, not to outshine others, but to honor their own potential. They're too busy building their lives, pursuing their dreams, and walking in their purpose to waste time comparing themselves to someone else's reflection. At the end of the day, competition with other women only breeds insecurity and resentment. But choosing to stand firm in your uniqueness breeds confidence and peace. High-value women embody this truth every day. They know the world doesn't need another copy. It needs their original self. And that's why they never compete with other women, because they already know they are one of one. High-value women never settle for less than they deserve. They understand that love should lift them, not limit them. They know that settling is not the same as loving. It's accepting less than what their heart, spirit, and soul truly need. A woman of worth does not trade her peace for companionship, her dignity for attention, or her standards for temporary comfort. She would rather wait for the right person than waste years on the wrong one. Settling often comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of running out of time, or fear of not finding something better. But high-value women do not operate out of fear. They operate out of faith. They believe that what is meant for them will come, and they trust their patience more than they trust their desperation. They know that loneliness for a season is far better than misery for a lifetime. Picture this: a woman is hungry and chooses to eat junk food because it's available, quick, and easy. For a moment, it satisfies her, but soon she feels worse, drained, and unhealthy. That's what settling in love looks like. It might feel good in the beginning, but it never sustains you. A high-value woman chooses differently. She waits for nourishment, for a love that feeds her soul, even if it means waiting longer, because she knows that temporary fillers can never give lasting joy. High-value women also understand that standards are not negotiable. They don't lower their bar just to keep someone around. They don't ignore red flags just because they're afraid of being single. They don't convince themselves that half love is enough when their heart craves something whole. They stand firm in what they deserve: respect, consistency, honesty, and effort. And if those things aren't present, they choose themselves instead. Imagine a queen sitting on her throne. If someone enters her kingdom without respect, she does not step down from her throne to chase them. She remains where she is, confident in her position, knowing that only those worthy of her presence should stay. That's how high-value women view relationships. They don't step down from their standards. They let others rise up to meet them. It's important to understand that not settling doesn't mean being unrealistic or demanding perfection. High-value women don't expect flawless relationships. They expect effort, growth, and mutual respect. They know love takes work, but they also know it should never cost their dignity. They want a partner, not a project. A relationship, not a rescue mission. And here's the beautiful thing. When a woman refuses to settle, she creates space for the love she truly deserves to find her. The wrong ones will fall away, but the right one will step up because he'll recognize that her standards are not barriers. They are invitations to rise higher. Settling is easy, but it costs you everything in the end. Holding out for what you deserve is hard, but it rewards you with peace, joy, and fulfillment. High-value women never forget that their patience is a form of power. And because of that, they never settle. They choose love that honors their worth, or they choose themselves until it arrives. High-value women never forget that their greatest relationship is with themselves first. They understand that no matter how much love they give or receive from others, it will never be enough if they do not love themselves. Self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation of every healthy relationship. When a woman values herself, She teaches the world how to value her. When she respects herself, she sets the standard for how others must treat her. Without that inner foundation, everything else crumbles. Many women pour their energy into everyone else, their partner, their children, their family, their friends, until there is nothing left for themselves. They forget that they too need nurturing, encouragement, and care. But high-value women refuse to abandon themselves. They know that their joy, their peace, and their confidence come from within, not from the validation of others. They make themselves a priority because they understand they cannot pour from an empty cup. Think of it like this: when you fly on an airplane, the safety instructions always tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you can't breathe, you can't save anyone else. Life and love work the same way. If you neglect yourself, you cannot give the best of you to anyone else. High-value women understand this truth deeply. That's why they invest in their growth, their healing, and their happiness before pouring into a relationship. This doesn't mean they are selfish or unwilling to sacrifice. It means they know their limits. They know that if they lose themselves, the relationship is no longer healthy. They practice self-care, protect their mental and emotional health, and stay rooted in who they are outside of love. They remind themselves daily, I am whole with or without a relationship. That wholeness makes their love stronger, not weaker. A woman who forgets herself in love will eventually feel empty. She may start resenting her partner, not because he failed to love her, but because she stopped loving herself. High-value women avoid this trap. They balance giving with receiving. They remind themselves that their happiness is their responsibility. They do not hand that responsibility over to someone else because they know that no partner, no matter how loving, can fill a void that only self can heal. Let's be clear. The relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other connection in your life. If you are harsh with yourself, you will accept harshness from others. If you constantly doubt yourself, you will tolerate doubt in your relationship. But if you honor yourself, believe in yourself, and treat yourself with kindness, you will naturally attract people who reflect that same energy back to you. High-value women never forget this truth. They know that when they nurture their relationship with themselves first, every other relationship becomes healthier, stronger, and more fulfilling. They are not waiting for someone else to complete them. They are already complete. And because of that, the love they give and receive is powerful, secure, and unshakable.